I never thought one night could change everything. It was late, the kind of late where the world seems to slow down, the air thick with thoughts I couldn't shake. The hum of the bar, the clink of glasses, the low murmur of conversations around me, it all felt distant, as though I were floating in my own private bubble. Chris, my husband, was away for work. I tried not to let it bother me, but the house had been so quiet, and I found myself lost in thoughts I didn't know how to confront. Chris is good to me. Steady, dependable, kind. He's everything I always thought I wanted, everything I'd been told I should appreciate. But lately, I've felt a distance between us, an ache I couldn't define. The passion we once had feels like a distant memory, the kind of thing that was so easy to take for granted. We've become roommates, co-parents, two people navigating life together, but drifting apart in small ways I could no longer ignore. I wasn't supposed to be here, sitting alone in the dim light of a bar with a glass of Cabernet in my hand. But the silence of our apartment had become unbearable. It was as if all the questions I had been pushing away for months were finally catching up to me. Was this it? Was this how marriage was meant to feel? Or was I just too selfish to admit I needed more? Before Chris, I was different. I was wild, carefree, full of fire. Spontaneous road trips, impulsive decisions, conversations that stretched deep into the night with strangers, those had been my life. I used to crave the unknown, the unpredictable. But somewhere along the way, I buried that version of myself. Settling down meant I traded in excitement for something safer, something more stable, or so I convinced myself. And yet here I was, sitting in this bar, wondering if I had lost a part of me forever. The sound of footsteps approaching broke my reverie, and I looked up, startled. A man was standing next to me, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark eyes that seemed to cut through the air between us. He had that kind of presence that demanded attention without saying a word. There was something magnetic about him, something dangerous. Mind if I sit here? His voice was deep, a little rough, like it carried stories I'd never hear. I didn't answer right away, but I gestured to the seat beside me. He sat down smoothly, not in a hurry, not awkward, as if he had all the time in the world. The moment he sat down, I felt it, a shift, like the air around us had thickened with something unsaid. His eyes lingered on me a second longer than necessary, and my heart did a strange little flip. We didn't speak right away. I studied my wine, the silence stretching comfortably between us, though there was something electric in it. Every so often I could feel his gaze on me, like he was studying me, dissecting the things I kept hidden even from myself. Strangely, I didn't mind. I wanted to be seen. It wasn't the usual kind of bar conversation. No small talk, no surface pleasantries. It was deeper, more intense. He asked about my life, my past, the kind of questions people don't usually ask when they've just met. And somehow, I found myself answering them. My voice was quieter than usual, revealing parts of me I hadn't realized were still there. He didn't know about Chris or the life I was quietly running from, but somehow he seemed to understand me. He made me feel alive, not like the woman who had been lost in routines and expectations, but like the woman I used to be. The one full of untamed dreams that never fit into neat boxes. His hand brushed mine once, and the shock of it sent a jolt through me. It was the kind of touch that shouldn't feel so intimate, so personal, but it did. It felt like an invitation, one I wasn't sure I was ready to accept, but couldn't resist. There was no guilt, no hesitation, not in that moment. All I could focus on was the heat between us, the electricity that sparked every time he leaned just a little closer. His scent, warm and subtle, filled my senses, and I realized how starved I had been for something more. Something real. Something that made me feel like I existed beyond the roles I'd been playing. I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to think about anything except the way he made me feel. When he invited me back to his apartment, I didn't think twice. It was reckless, I knew, but part of me didn't care. I followed him through the crowded streets, my mind a swirl of emotions I couldn't untangle. The elevator ride felt like an eternity. The air between us was thick with unspoken tension, yet somehow calming. His presence was overwhelming, and every part of me felt drawn to him, pulled by a force I couldn't name. By the time we reached his apartment, I wasn't fighting it anymore. The moment the door closed behind us, he stepped closer. His hands reached for me, gentle at first, testing the waters. I responded immediately, my body betraying any lingering doubts. His fingers traced the line of my jaw, his thumb brushing my lips. I couldn't remember why I'd resisted this feeling for so long. His lips met mine, slow, deliberate, like every second mattered. It wasn't just a kiss. It was an awakening. Every touch felt something inside me I hadn't known I needed until that very moment. The world outside faded as his lips found my neck, his hands trailing warmth along my skin. My breath caught, my pulse quickened, and I realized I'd been holding my breath for years, waiting for this exhale. He pulled me closer, and I didn't stop him. I wanted more. Every second, every movement deepened that sense of being seen, of being wanted in a way that felt unapologetically mine. I wasn't thinking about Chris or what I was supposed to do. All that mattered was this feeling, raw and real, like I'd stepped back into myself. Before I tell you what happened next, don't forget to like and subscribe. You won't want to miss where this goes. When he guided me gently to the couch, it wasn't rushed. Every gesture felt intentional, like he wasn't just reaching for my body, but for something deeper. His hands explored with care, each touch a quiet promise. I responded eagerly, my skin coming alive beneath him. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional surrender, a release I hadn't known I needed. His lips found mine again, deeper this time, and I kissed him back with the hunger I'd buried too long. When the moment came, when we stood at the edge of something irreversible, it didn't feel wrong. It felt inevitable. I didn't feel like I was betraying anyone. I wasn't a bad person for wanting this. I was simply a woman, finally claiming a part of herself she'd silenced. Afterward, we lay tangled together, silence wrapping around us. But it wasn't uncomfortable. His hand rested on my back, his fingers tracing slow, lazy circles. I felt a peace I hadn't known I was searching for. As I left his apartment in the early morning, the first light creeping into the sky, I felt the warmth of his touch still lingering on my skin. My wedding ring felt heavier now, a reminder of what I'd been, but also of what I'd discovered. I didn't know what would happen when I went back to Chris, but for the first time in a long time, I felt awake, alive, and for now, that was enough.